Another drone strike hit Moscow. This time, 2 non-residential office buildings were attacked. The Russian government blamed Ukraine. Meanwhile, people in Odessa removed rubble from a Russian bombing of the historic Transfiguration Cathedral. The church is more than 200 years old. It's a World Heritage Site. Residential buildings were also hit in the latest Russian attack. Well, joining us with more is former Florida Congressman, former U.S. Ambassador to the Vatican Francis Roone. Ambassador Roone, it's good to talk with you again. So what do you make of this second drone attack in Moscow and also the Russian bombing of a World Heritage Site, a cathedral in Odessa?
Well, I think that they're going to be indiscriminate about what they hit. They don't care if it's a historical building or not. Look at the Serbs that blew up the Mostar Bridge in Bosnia. I mean, I think we're fighting a war of attrition here, and it's going to depend on who just gets exhausted first.
Well, it seems like the start of an escalation in this war that is now 17 months old, and the U.S. has provided Ukraine with Bradley fighting vehicles, cluster bombs, other advanced weaponry. And is that arming of Ukraine adding to the escalation and prolonging the war? It doesn't seem like any end is in sight right now.
It's definitely prolonging the war. I mean, Zelenskyy couldn't fight his way out of a wet paper bag without the armaments we're giving him. They're good fighters, but they got to have the weaponry to survive.
So what do we do? Keep arming them and keep escalating?
If it were me, and it's not, I would get Germany and France, maybe England or whoever else wants to join in, everybody I could get to jointly call on Zelenskyy to offer the deal of Russia gets out of Donbass, but they keep Crimea, and get it over with and move on.
Well, why is this not happening? I know last week the president signed an executive order sending 3,000 additional troops to the European theater to support NATO and their defenses there. Is that an escalation? What do you make of that move? That doesn't sound like peace to me.
I think it's definitely an escalation. It's also a mistake. We ought to be talking how to get out of this thing, and no one seems to want to talk about that. Zelenskyy comes out and says, I won't give an inch of ground to the Russians. Well, that's ridiculous. They're not going to get busted out of Crimea.
And the money keeps flowing. I think Americans believe the Biden administration just isn't doing enough to try to end this thing and get both sides to enter into peace talks. So why no effort there? Is regime change the goal rather than peace?
Well, it's highly unusual that there has been fighting for so long and no overt efforts at a serious peace discussion. I mean, that didn't happen even in Vietnam or North Korea with North Korea. Didn't happen even in World War II. It didn't happen. I mean, but there has been nothing. One little suggestion from President Macron a long time ago, and that's it. And it's going to have to be led by the U.S. and the large European countries to tell Zelenskyy no more weaponry, no more support, no NATO, no EU, no nothing. If you don't offer the Russians a trade which is going to be reasonably acceptable to them.
Why aren't the Europeans more involved then in trying to negotiate a peace here?
It's a good question. I mean, I know that everybody's really impressed with the Ukrainians' ability to fight and to push Russia back, and that nobody likes Putin and likes the aggression that he brought on the world and would like to see Russia cut back. But somehow or another, you just can't keep doing this forever.
Well, what are you hearing from most Americans? Because those I talk to say, look, we can't allow, Putin just to take over another country. But on the other hand, we're sending billions of dollars over to Ukraine with little accountability.
This is absolutely true. And more and more every day, more people become reluctant to stay in the Ukraine fight. And it's going to get real political here once the debates start.
Well, I think there's already a political development that may be influencing this, and I've got to ask you about it. Recent allegations coming from Republicans on Capitol Hill about $10 million, allegedly, I must stress, paid to Joe and Hunter Biden by Burisma founder Mykola Zlochevsky. And if true, how might that influence Biden's Ukraine war decisions? Your thoughts on that?
Well, I would think it makes Biden have more of an imperative to do something. I mean, look, the Ukrainians were horribly corrupt long before this war started. That's why Trump didn't send them the Javelin missiles for a couple of years, because we wanted to clean up their corruption. And it took Hunter Biden to take their corruption to an all-new high level.
Well, what about the president? Do you think he's complicit?
Well, I think he's been awful close to his son. I think there's some tapes where they're talking about, quote, the big man cut in and all that. And so, yeah, I think he is complicit. I think the guy has been a total failure in all respects.
Well,
he's caved to the radical left, and he's supported his corrupt son.
Well, might that affect our policy then in Ukraine if he is corrupt?
Yeah, it might. It might make him less likely to be a tough on Zelenskyy, since the Ukrainians have paid his son so much money. You know, I've been on many corporate boards, big companies, multi-billion-dollar companies, and I never got more than a couple $100,000 a year in board fees. For them to pay Hunter Biden, Burisma, to pay Hunter Biden over $600,000 when he doesn't even know anything about the oil business is outright bribery.
Yeah, we saw that in the memo, the FBI memo, basically, that said they felt that he didn't know anything. So, Mr. Ambassador, what do we do about all this? What do we do about these allegations? Do we get a special counsel? What do we do?
That would probably be helpful, but as we know, unfortunately, the newly weaponized and politicized FBI and Department of Justice, which is unique to American experience, by the way, by either party, has undermined and resisted investigating Biden the way that they should. They even, one of these media people, I think it was, one of the investigators called the people that had the laptop, and it inhibited them from getting a lot of evidence that they should have gotten. That's pretty much insidious, I think.
Okay, congressional investigations continue. Former Congressman and former Ambassador to the Vatican, Francis Roone, thank you for providing your time and insights. We appreciate it. Good talking to you again.
Good talking to you. Thank you very much.